All right, so welcome to another video from the chart readers. This is one of the more popular ones, I would say. We are going to take a look at the weed industry, the marijuana sector. So we're going to stick to the original one. So we got 2, 4, 6. We have 7 tickers. I'm not too sure if we'll need to draw new lines, but obviously we will if we need, right? So as always, what are we going to do? We're going to start with what I kind of consider the big boy and work our way through the rest. Definitely no order, right? I'll look at the daily as well as the weekly charts since I make this roughly 1 week out. We'll use these moving averages up here, these horizontal support and resistance lines that I manually draw, as well as these 2 lower indicators really as that double assurance, right? So, hey, if you haven't already, please subscribe. It's the quickest way to get all the updates. I can't believe I've cracked 60. I appreciate all of you, for real. That's crazy. Like I said, I still remember being at 1, so much appreciated. So, we made this last video roughly on the 24th, right? So, roughly a week. And really, you'll see here, right, this was the 24th day. So it looked like what was going to happen was a bounce on this 50. And it actually kind of did happen, right? We got at least a really good 2 days. It actually came up to pretty much test the line, right? Just a little over the line, right? But never close enough to the 100 to really call it the 100 test, right? Though it looked like it broke the 8, the 20, and this line, clearly a hard rejection the next day. It looked like it wanted to retake the 8, but again, just rejection, right? So if you've seen these videos, I've said it a couple times, you really want to wait for confirmation if you're going to make a first move, right? If you're willing to play the bounce, hey, get in right here, make your way up, and then obviously get out before the 8 loses. Hey, you're still up if you got in playing the bounce. If you're trying to get in here because you've broken these, you really need one more day, right? Because this is the first day, it failed. This is a second attempt, it failed, extra fail, right? So right now, where are we sitting? Look, we're sitting pretty much just under this line, actually a penny under exactly. And it looks like we've tested the 50, right? The 50 clearly caught us here. Is it going to be enough to catch us here? I mean, I don't know, right? I've said it a couple times. Sometimes when it gets this tight, really what I do use is another one that I call the 1. I'm showing you guys chart readers, right? And chart readers is a badass view. I'm more than proud of this view, and we found some good ones on this view, right? But yeah, I would definitely want a little more info before I did anything daily on this bad boy. Because look, with the bad market, what looks like it might be trying to bounce, not bounce, right? Like I would believe it's going to lose the 50 more than it would bounce up one more time. So, but hey, look, the RSI doesn't look bad, right? It looks like it's kind of trying to go up, but again, it's been so tight, right? There hasn't really been any major break up or down. So, I mean, it's almost a horizontal irrelevance, right, for lack of words. But let me look at the weekly on TLRY. Again, look. It's wanting to break the 50, the 20, right? One test, but down here. 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 All that time staying over the 8, but look, right now we're actually going under the 8, right? Let me actually zoom in. You'll see we're actually under the 8 on the weekly. So weekly definitely needs to stay over the 8 by the end of Friday, right? Close of Friday. But I would love to start turning more towards this 20 up here, right? Like, let's get over this we'll call it $4 range, right? And trying to get over, right? But right now, yeah, TLRY doesn't look that good unless something big happens. So I would definitely be a little cautious. ACB, again, this one tends to trade in unison with TLRY. That said, this one actually looks a little better, I will say. So actually same kind of story, right? We came down to the 50. We got a nice bounce, really a couple back and forths here, but this just seems a little positive only because we're still over this line and we're not as close on the 50. Again, the RSI kind of has that same view, right? Still super, super tight, right? Again, really, in all sincerity, I probably wouldn't even touch this thing unless we broke this 165 because this is a much nicer gap channel to play than this one right here, right? So, but hey, look, we're over the 8 with Aurora. Hopefully we get over the 20 with Aurora. Hopefully we get over this line with Aurora and so on and so forth, right? But again, a little tight, a nice 4-day 4% gain. Don't get me wrong, but I'd like to see some follow through. That's for sure, for sure. Coming to the weekly, this is not a bad weekly chart. I will for sure say that. Look at that. That's a very pretty RSI. It looks a little bullish right there for sure. That's a great MACD, a nice healthy gap that looks like it's continued for a number of weeks, right? And really, we've been over this 8 for a number of weeks as we start, going up and down these lines. So ACB actually does look a little more bullish than TLRY, so I would keep an eye on this one versus the latter. So MSOS. So this is actually one of the only ETFs I do drop on any of my sectors, actually. So again, an ETF is basically a number of individual stocks that they kind of trade in a group, right? That's a dumb way of basically saying what it is, right? But this is the multi-state operators, and again, it's a number of them. So what happened, right? Look, we had this really tight channel of moving averages and just literally staying within these two lines, right? When I say channels, it's generally the horizontal white lines, right? We get a nice break, a nice little follow through, what looks like a break of the 100 for the first time, right? But again, no confirmation, and now it looks like we're kind of working our way down. This for sure was a nice little run, a little more than 10% easy, right? So hopefully you caught that. It was only a couple days, you make that nice little 10%. But right now, it's looking a little iffy unless we can actually bounce up from this 8 right here, right? Not the best RSI, and clearly the RSI was a little on the high side, right? We did hit the low 70s. We've seen higher for sure, but excuse me, this doesn't look too bullish. So let's take a look at the weekly. Oh, look at this. So MSOS is actually the first one to make a real move at the 20, right? From the ones that we've seen. Clearly it tested up here and closed as close as it can be. We're obviously under it, but that's nice to see. Again, these aren't bad lower indicators down here. Actually, it looks like I can draw one more line. Let me make a line on this one right here. I'll use the bottom of it. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get a little... Oh my gosh, that was worse than the first attempt. Oh my gosh, one last time. There we go. That's not bad. Again, not perfect, but I think it's worth... All right, you know what? That's a little tight. Let's go up here. All that just for me to move it, right? Let's go with this one, actually. I'll make a nicer little gap here, especially if we're on the weekly. I'm okay with that. We'll go back basically 2 weeks in that frame. So cool. Okay, I think this is a pretty good view on MSOS. I'll tell you, ACB and MSOS, I probably keep an eye on. This daily has me a little worried, so maybe ACB a little more, but nonetheless, I think both have been a little more bullish than TLRY. Ooh, HEXO. This is pretty ugly. Let me zoom out just a little bit. Not that zooming out is really going to help much. I just kind of wanted to see where this... Yeah, so there's still a pretty long way between the 100. I'm going to kind of zoom back in. So where have we been? Look, obviously the beginning of the month, this bad boy made a good run. Clearly gave up most of it, right? And we've kind of been sitting in this channel here. Definitely trading under the 8 for a number of days. It looks like, did we get over it or not? No, we actually didn't. Let me see, actually. So HEXO closed at 0.21, and then you'll see the average 8 is at 0.21. So, you know, we're right on it. We're not technically over it, right? The rule is get over the 8, not stay on the 8. I will say, though, again, this is a very tight stock. Most of the time on these kind of stocks, you're going to trade in the 4 decimal range, right? I'm really only showing 2, but... a little tight for my comfort, and really kind of like I've said on other ones, I would trade this channel up here versus definitely not this one. Maybe this one, I guess you can technically call it 10%. There is 2 cents, but this looks like it has a few cents. There's definitely 100 right here. There's a line here. Hopefully this one would be the meteor one if it gets there, right? Last thing we want to do is lose this 20 and work our way back even lower, right? But hopefully that doesn't happen. Let me look at the weekly. Again, nothing special on the weekly here, right? Looked like it made a run. This one came close to the 20, but definitely came back, so nothing as good as we saw on the last 2. So HEXO definitely looks like it could use some help. CGC, can it be good? If I'm not mistaken, this one's been doing all right. Yeah, look at this. So I would say that this has been doing all right, actually, right? So this one had that good run the rest saw. It didn't actually come as low. It didn't really even need to bounce off the 50. But look what's happening the last few days, right? This 100 moving average combined with this 425 resistance line that I drew, oh man, it was just real bad. Boom, boom, 1-2 days right here, right? So the way I'm reading this is we've been rejected by the 100, and it actually looks like we've lost the 8 for the last 2 days, right? So we better bounce off this 20. If we don't bounce from the 20, that could be actually a little bad. at least short term, right? So this RSI is actually kind of I'm sorry, this MACD is the first one that kind of, if I'm not mistaken, looks like this, where the green might actually be under the red, right? I've seen a couple where it had this tight pattern, right? I did call it out, but this doesn't look like a good MACD. It does not actually, no. Interesting though, like I said, again, CGC, from what I remember, has had a pretty good chug along since I've made the first couple of these videos. It just, like I said, it looks like we're at a hard point, right? We're at the 100 on the daily. Clearly this 380 resistance is definitely a real resistance. And then look, we've had 1, 2, 3 wick hits already on this 20. And look, it's the first time we've done it since back in April of last year, right? So April this year. Sorry, April of this year. Nonetheless, several months. That's a long time ago. Cool. CGC, though, not too bad. Just be careful here. Make sure we bounce off the 20 one more time. But no new lines need to get drawn, right? So everything's basically kind of stayed within our little windows. Sandal. Okay, so Sandal. I remember thinking that this one was going to have a good little run, and it just hasn't yet. So, and I don't want to say yet like I think it's going to happen, right? This is not financial advice, but we've had such a tight cluster of moving averages and these horizontal and support lines, right? It really seemed like it was going to try to make a break up or down, and it just really hasn't shown its cards either way yet, right? We're clearly under the 8 and actually under the 20 if you look right here, right? So not necessarily sitting at a healthy place. We're exactly on our line, right? My line is 281. We closed at 281, right? So Sandal, if it does not go up, there's a lot of reason to believe it will come down around to this 250, right? So no more lines to save it, basically, right? So be careful, especially, again, I rarely talk about the actual shapes, but look, they thought it was going to go up and then it just slams down here. Oh, that was a nice little after hours movement. That's not too bad. But again, still under both important lines, right? Coming to the weekly, again, hey, looked like it was going to close above the 8. So far it hasn't. Hey, it's still a little early in the week. I guess it's middle of the week, right? So 2 days left. Hopefully some magic happens. But yeah, get over the 8 and one more time. Do not lose this line, right? Definitely needs to get over these two by tomorrow. So I need to see literally 286, right? I'll take a penny over if that's what it is, but need some help here for sure. And then last on the list is CRON. Okay, so interesting. This was actually a little bit more of my lines, my horizontal support and resistance lines, than it was the moving averages, right? But look, this is, again, a big cluster of moving averages, right? It's so hard to break a bunch. It's so hard to lose a bunch, right? So I can just see us, and you'll see it's actually happened for, it's been a little bit of a while, right? Look at this, just kind of up and down this tight cluster. So keep in mind, I see the 200 up here, so that's interesting, right? That might either add to this or add a little bit of an issue, right? But overall, we're under all of them right now, so let's get over them before we even consider these, right? Because, yeah, that's a fat drop down if we do end up going down, right? So hopefully we break on up. But I'll be honest, this is just a little too tight a cluster, and the safest move would be to play over 331, right? Let's get a confirmation and take just under that 10% right there. So a quick view at the sector, really overall very tight. Again, the market's not doing well, so that is understandable, but there were a couple interesting plays. Again, ACB, MSOS, and man, maybe CGC, but again, I think CGC is kind of cooling down from being the strongest of the group. So hey, trade safely. Again, subscribe if you're listening all the way at the end, but thank you so much.